I hate to break the fishing news up, Chuck, but I'd like to speak about the ice hockey.
Congratulations, you're one of the 13 listeners of the Real Life Podcast.
We just traded a migraine in for like an orgasm.
Might want to mark that down,
Yep. All of my projects are on schedule until they're not.
A member of the Nation Network of Podcasts.
About as funny as we're going to get today.
Welcome into episode 223 of the Real Life Podcast. I am Tyler Yaremchuk, joined by Baggedmilk, Wanye, Jay. As always, this podcast brought to you by Oodle Noodle, where 10% of all in-store proceeds go towards a local charity, and I love the charity you guys are working with right now, Positively Princessed, because for no other reason other than the video is tremendous. The video that our friend Josh Park put together up on the Oodle Noodle
I saw that
Instagram.
video start, Jay, where your face is beaming, and it literally gave me heebie-jeebies, and then I saw it everywhere. Everywhere I saw it.
Well, full disclosure, I had just finished playing hockey for like 90 minutes before I shot that, so I was exuding some heat, some afterburn.
That face, that frozen face at the beginning, wow. It's Positive Princesses, like some sort of Men in Black thing where they show you that your mind resets? Is that what it does?
Yeah. Like,
what do they do? What do they do? Tell everybody what they do, for real.
I fell under their spell and I got excited with all the stuff we were doing. So they're just a volunteer group that dress up as either princesses or Marvel characters, and they go around to the Stollery or inner city schools, and they do appearances to just cheer up the kids. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, they make all of their own costumes. They're just a group of people who just really love doing this, and they don't really go out and get much support. It's all like self-funded, and we found out about them. We're like, holy cow, like we've got to find a way.
How did you find out about this?
Actually, well, they're from Sherwood Park, and Josh is actually connected to them. He reached out to us saying, hey, like, these are just a group of volunteers, but this is what they do. Like, do you think we could...
You bought all the princesses' wigs.
Work with them. Yeah, exactly. So
you're a good man.
So, yeah, so it's they're doing a lot of good things, and they do it because they love it, which is super cool. So the fact that we could help them, it was awesome. And the two sisters there that we interview in the video that we launched, I think, on Friday. When we reached out to them, we're like, hey, yeah, like we're Real Noodle. We like to partner with local charities. You know, we like what you're doing. We want to help out. And they thought maybe we'd be coming in and donating like $200, and they were excited. And then once they found out what it is we actually raised for them, they started crying.
What'd you give them?
Well, we don't know yet.
How the hell could they start crying if they don't know a number?
Well, we know on average kind of what it works out to. So based on like we never know what sales are going to be, but we know roughly like it ranges between like $3,000, $4,000.
So 10% of all in-store sales in every Oodle Noodle for a week period goes to that charity of the week.
Yes,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, here's the ad, Yaremchuk. If you like your local princesses bald, eat anywhere you want. If you'd like them to have new wigs, come to Oodle Noodle, where we give a fuck about you.
Yes, giving a fuck. The Oodle Noodle guarantee, whether it's about your food or about the community around you.
Yeah, we give a fuck. Slap that on a billboard, Pattison.
As a representative of the meme division of Oodle Noodle, this one is a fucking gold mine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You've had some great ones.
It's my first princess fail.
And that button, which I now use, I will use regularly on Oilers Nation Radio for our weekly Hot and Cold Performers segment, which is also brought to you by Oodle Noodle. So how about that? Tying it all together. It really bums me out that Chalmers hasn't been on this podcast in what feels like 3 months. It feels like he's joined us twice since the pandemic started.
Yeah, this is why Chalmers is a great guy for the podcast, because when he does come on the show and tells Ladislav Schmid it's all about him, not Ladislav Schmid, then just fans us for 3 months. But fans us like the afternoon of with a different excuse twice a week.
My favorite one was when we had Kelly Buckberger on, and Chalmers just goes, he goes, do you remember that hockey camp I was in that you were at? And Kelly Buckberger's like, no, like fucking obviously not. That was a great moment.
See, and my favorite one would be when we interviewed Brandon Davidson, and he was talking about horses, and then that led Chalmers down the road of talking about his own horse that he was involved in as a kid or whatever.
Excellent pull on horse force. Well done. I actually have a Chalmers update. I was at a friend's house watching football, and Chalmers strolled in for the afternoon games. Totally on brand. Slurpee in hand.
Yeah.
Stressed out about his lock of the week and saying to me that he was going to be on today's episode.
Of course he will.
Yeah. Speaking of our locks of the week, it did not go good for us, guys. Pats, Vikings, Panthers all did not cover their spreads. They all lost straight up anyways. It was a huge week for underdogs. But now's not the time to talk.
Upside down.
Yeah.
The upside down this week.
Yeah.
I feel like I can still save us tonight.
You might be able to, but hopefully not, because I'll be rooting for Bills Mafia here in the Monday afternoon. Okay, I have a story to tell, and this is, you know how Chalmers has that story where the guy stole his car or whatever, and he went like full vigilante? This is the most Yaremchuk version of the story, where Chalmers is like tough and, you know, in with the streets kind of thing, and was able to do something very cool. The guy had a weapon and all that. Here's my car sort of vigilante story. Not really, though. So I went for groceries on Monday night, last Monday night, and pull up to the grocery store, go in, get my groceries. There was basically no one there. The parking lot was pretty empty, so parked in a spot where there was no one around me. Came back, and my girlfriend goes, "Oh, you better come look at your door." So I go look at my door, and there's a huge ding on it. Like, no, I'm not even going to call it a ding. My door was dented. And I was like, oh, fuck, someone hit my door. Like, are you kidding me? Like, totally puts you in a bad mood. I look at the car next to me, and where there are two scratches on my door, one of them is short, one of them is long, you can see two scratches on the car next to me that perfectly match up. And there's a scratch on the bottom of each door as well. So I'm like, oh, shit, this person fucking swung their door open and smoked my car. So I decided to wait in the parking lot. As you do, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to get into like a screaming match with someone, won't I? I'm nervous about it because I'm not a huge fan of confrontation. But then this girl comes out, pretty young girl, and I'm like, hey.
Jackpot, babe.
She looked guilty instantly. She went like around and put her groceries in like the passenger side of her car and like walked around the cart thing to like get there. And then she comes back to her driver's side door and I'm like, hey, like, hate to do this, but did you hit my door? And she was like, no, why would I do that? I was like, well, I'm not saying you did it on purpose, but the evidence here is fairly overwhelming that you dinged my door. And she was like, no, I promise you, I definitely didn't ding your door. So I'm sitting there and I took, before she came out, because I had to wait like 10 minutes, I took a picture of the license plate, took a picture of my door, the scratches that lined up and all that. And I'm like, I took pictures of this. Like, it looks like you hit my door. And she goes, no, I didn't hit your door. And then goes to get into her car and opens up her driver door and they like line up and almost hit again. And I was like, you just opened your door. It looks like you dinged my door. And she stands there. She's still denying it. She's like, nope, I promise you I didn't ding your door. So I was finally, I pulled out the line of, I was like, listen, we're either going to do this the hard way or the easy way. Like, you can tell me you dinged my door and we'll move on and we'll get it sorted out
match.
And it's all good. Or I can drive to the cop shop right now, show them the pictures with your license plate and tell them that you dinged my door and refuse to admit it. And then finally, I cracked her. She admitted to it. She said, yeah, okay, I did ding your door. And it's like, after like 8 minutes of you denying this in front of me to my face, she finally admitted it. And then told me that she had no money and didn't want to pay it. And I was like, well, that's why insurance exists. So that's my story. I had to basically interrogate someone in a parking lot.
You went full Matlock on her. Like,
I did.
I like it. You presented a case, a damning case, I might add, where she had to confess.
Mm-hmm.
You learned a valuable lesson today, young Tyler. Threats work.
Was your missus at all enamored with you for your Matlock skills? Go.
No, I don't think she was like overly impressed. I think she was just as annoyed with the situation as I was. I was like really proud of myself. And then in my head, I'm like, man, this girl was like younger than me even. And that is not an impressive feat at all. But I was still kind of proud of myself. I got the truth eventually.
Did you at all think about a citizen's arrest?
As you know, I always carry handcuffs in my back pocket. So I was prepared to do that.
Deviant.
Nice.
No, citizen's arrest never crossed my mind. And now it's been a pain in the ass of like contacting this person. I've never been in like a car accident before. There was one time where my ex-girlfriend's brother backed up into my car, and that's the closest thing. And once I smoked a garbage can, and there was like thousands of dollars of damage on my car because I hit the garbage can so hard. But I didn't know what to do. She was like, what do we do now? And I was like, well, I think I need like a picture of your driver's license, I guess, and your phone number. And that's where we went from there. But it's been a pain in the ass process.
You nailed it. Now, the most important question, Yaremchuk, is do you even know who Matlock is?
Good question.
I know it's something Low Tide talks about a lot.
You're right in Low Tide's wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, my mom loved Matlock.
It's still on. There's one channel that like is dedicated to airing just those old TV shows. I forget what it is. You always see billboards up about it though.
See, my favorite show of that genre and ilk, meaning like a former like 60s television star now in his like still like in his gray-haired years doing something of like a show about being some form of professional or investigator like Matlock, was Banachek.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
3 people just lit up.
Yeah. Banachek was a insurance investigator, so people would perform insurance fraud, and he would go and figure out that they were doing bad things. And Banachek was played by Hannibal Smith of the original A-Team.
Unbelievable.
Hard.
The cigar guy.
Yeah, and the show was in the 70s, so way before my time.
Well, I was just going to ask, because this show aired from 72 to 74, so how did this come across?
I loved it. And he drove around in a car.
But what did you possess, like a time machine as a child? How did you watch this?
It was on A&E.
Bless A&E.
Wanya,
he was a suave man. He was the James Bond of insurance fraud investigation. And that's why it spoke to me.
And yet you didn't like Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, where the drama was a trade blockade. I thought you liked administrative-based shows.
I do.
Hey, what happened to all these televisions? Call Banachek. You're like, fantastic. I hope they open the containers.
But then they draw in too much goddamn action. You know my issue with James Bond when
you like sleuthing.
When they take away the sleuthing and they go all action, those are the ones I take issue with. That's why Quantum of Solace, and they'll all admit it was a mistake. It was all about the action, not about the storyline.
Die Another Day had no sleuthing. It was just spinning around on ice in an X5.
Yeah, that was silly too. Like that was like I don't mind. Hey, in Moonraker they go to space. I'm cool with that.
There can be mysteries that involve going to space,
but there was a lot of sleuthing before they got to space.
Are you a big fan of the board game Clue?
It
sounds like you would be,
I gotta
right?
play it. I haven't played it in a long time. I think I would be, yeah.
When I was a kid, I legitimately thought I would be solving mysteries or something at some point in my life. Like I used to watch shows and be like, okay, and how did they figure this out? Thinking like how they figure the murderer out was the guy at the old well. Because I thought at some point I was going to need to solve a mystery. And to this point in life, not too many mysteries came across my desk.
Have you solved a mystery before, though?
Have I solved a mystery?
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I can think of off the top of my head.
Like
I thought that all mysteries were solved by dogs when I was a kid. They had
or the Hardy Boys.
Littlest Hobo.
Littlest Hobo.
Littlest Hobo. You're right. That was just Canadian Lassie, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I liked the Littlest Hobo. It was always on right after Airwolf.
Yes. Now, Airwolf was a show.
Do you like helicopters, Chuck?
I mean, I've never been in one, but
do you like?
Would you like it if they came out of a
fighter
mountain?
That were,
you guys both
came out
talked
of
at
a
the same
mountain
time.
like Team America.
What's this show called?
Airwolf.
Airwolf.
How have they not brought back Airwolf? Bring back Airwolf. That's
it had. So the pilot of Airwolf was Dick Van Dyke's son, I believe, Andy. And
it's like you had a subscription to TV Guide as a child and no other book.
Yeah.
You're like, well, it aired at 7:15 on ABC in 1973. What? How do you know this?
Airwolf was legit.
For $55 Canadian on Amazon, you can get all 79 episodes of Airwolf in one box set.
Oh, that's a bargain.
Wow.
They didn't even get to 100. Wow, that's a shame.
Yeah, they missed that syndication money.
You know, Edison Twins, Danger Bay,
huge.
MathNet.
Now, Airwolf, though, hold on. Well, MathNet, now you're just bringing the classics into it. Airwolf was an American show, correct?
Yes.
Danger Bay and the rest of those were all Canadian shows.
Canadian.
including MathNet, which was an important part of Square One.
MathNet was American, I believe. Yeah, it was American because they were based in LA.
But that was Square One. That was PBS, right?
Yeah, it was a PBS show. I'm surprised that doesn't I don't know why that vanished. I learned a lot of my life lessons come from 3-2-1 contact.
Yeah,
in terms of learning things. 3-2-1
contact. That's what it was. You're right.
Yeah, and there's that song they had about the number 9, about how it all adds up to 9. This is stuff that lives with me that I can always pull when I face real life problems.
Okay. I just want to share with you, because I think you'll find this interesting, that you can buy the box set, or you can combo this together on Amazon. It's recommended. It's Airwolf the Complete Series, Knight Rider the Complete Series, and Airwolf the Movie. You can get all 3 for 150 Canadian.
Wow.
It's a bargain.
I thought we'd move past DVDs. Have we not moved past DVDs?
But here's what I was going to say. So you can buy them on DVD for $55 for the Airwolf Complete Series, or there's an option to buy it all on Blu-ray for $107. Is Blu-ray still a thing?
I do not have a device in my house that plays either of those things.
Don't you have a PlayStation 3 or something?
I got rid of it.
Oh.
I don't need it anymore.
I've got an old portable DVD player that I bought for travel before there was TV and headrest. Yes, I said that.
The silver one?
The silver one, and that makes so much noise to operate, but still works.
Oh, I probably should have those too, actually.
So if I want to dust off an old DVD, like a James Bond or Count of Monte Cristo, put it into the noise machine, and it still works.
Wow.
I see the mystery of where's the Count of Monte Cristo just solved itself.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah, I borrowed that from about 20 years ago.
Oh, names.
Oh, I borrowed that from Wanye about 20 years ago.
Your M-check, can you help me?
Yeah, whenever I bleep it out because I think it's funnier for the listener, especially because we usually talk about it after. And I always take notes during the podcast. And whenever there's a government name, I'm so nervous about it getting through that I'll show you here on my notes. It is it's like half the page is gov name. So I cannot forget to edit that out. There's been a couple times where it's in the process of uploading and I'm going through my notes and I'm like, all right, so for videos on Instagram, I want to do this, and oh fuck, government name. And I'm going back to try stop the process on our on where we upload our podcast to. It's hilarious. It's a mad scramble, but it keeps me on my toes. I don't mind when you guys slip them in once in a while.
I love when we have a guest and you have to explain to people this guy's called this and this guy's called that, and that guy's name is just an audible horn. Honk.
But when I reach out to them, I'm like, this is a very professional podcast. We have thousands of listeners, all this. Then they come on and I'm like, so we got Baggedmilk. We got a guy named Wanye. That's not his real name. We can't tell you his real name. And up top there. Anyways.
But I don't care about his real name. Exactly.
And I hope you enjoy looking at ceilings and my face for the entire podcast.
32 million streams. Can't be wrong. Minutes of streams. Not streams. 32 million streams would make us Lady Gaga.
Before I move on to the next topic, should give some love to our friends at Twig and Berries. They got a thing going on their Instagram, Modern Caveman Mondays, where they post a nice photo of a lad wearing some Twig and Berries products. Check them out on their Instagram, twigandberries.ca. Check them out online and use the promo code NATION15. Gets you 15% off your order.
Throw us something up on the real life Insta so people know how to get their promo code.
I want to see. I thought Wanye was going to say he wants to see some of these manly men rocking the Twig and Berries.
We could.
You think I want to see men in their underwear? That's what you think I was about to say?
Baggedmilk, I'll get you yours, and you do a edited face pose, and we'll get you on the Manly Mondays.
Perfect. I've been eating a lot of Doritos, so my body is in perfect shape.
It is ready.
Yes. Sweet chili heat inspired fitness.
I did plug them this morning on the post where I brought up the Taylor Hall discussion we had on the last one. And I tagged them in all the little show outlines that I posted on our Instagram story. My favorite thing today is I posted the clip of us talking about Taylor Hall. And someone comments and they go, he's too much of a baby. Why waste your time? He says he feels like he's going somewhere or... the guy basically said, why did Taylor Hall tweet out that he regrets signing in Buffalo? And someone commented and was like, he never tweeted that. And the guy's like, no, I saw him tweet that he regrets signing in Buffalo. I think someone got I think someone got duped by a fake account because I promise.
I was going to say, that sounds like he got bamboozled by Mimamoto.
Yeah, Mimamoto does it. But like, how much better would the NHL be, though, if all the players were 100% honest? Like, Taylor Hall signs in Buffalo and goes on Twitter and is like, listen, I really don't want to play here, but they offered me a shitload of money, and now I kind of regret it.
No, because I'd know what the Oilers from 2007 to 2013 really thought. It would break my heart.
No, it would be the worst.
If you had Eric Belanger's actual thoughts?
Yeah, there's some lies. Just let me have.
That's fair.
Yeah, I just want ignorance is bliss in this one, I think.
Baggedmilk, what I wanted to ask you about. You have one of the best bits on the internet going with your free stuff posts.
Yes.
Have you ever actually taken an item that you post on Instagram as free stuff, #TheGoodLife?
Yeah, actually a bunch of them.
Can you share? I was fascinated by this when you posted the one today.
Oh yeah, because I found a half-eaten bag of beef jerky today. That was a real good find.
Yeah.
That is tempting.
Yeah, don't you have a bed and a toothbrush?
That's right. Yep.
Shut up! You took a toothbrush off the ground.
Well, if you know an easier way to get a free toothbrush, what is
Taylor Hall is upset that he signed in Buffalo.
No, the stuff that I've taken has been for Frank, my dog. Like I've found footballs before. I've given those to him. I've found basketballs before. I've given those to him. Soccer balls, that kind of stuff. So if there's like a Frank item that I think he'd like, yeah, I'll take that.
Like some,
but
of the
like
stuff.
No, not the microwaves. Although one time I was tempted to bring to carry home an exercise bike, I just don't know how I would have worked it. And I also have one, but I thought it was hilarious to find an exercise bike.
I'll tell you one thing. If you find a Peloton on the side of the road and you can carry it home, then you don't need a Peloton.
Well, exactly.
Those things are heavy.
Are you still doing your Peloton?
Oh, yeah.
Do you do the thing, like, you have buddies that have them too, right?
Yeah. And
is there friendly competition
again.
Here? That's
it is, because now a new guy has joined the team, and he has gotten to like the top level of our group very fast, and is now starting to set new records. Oh, so now I got to get back and get on my horse and really start trying to push out some big PRs here to try to take him down. Because the whole point and motivation for me to get the Peloton was, well, one, it was like I was drunk on the first day of COVID and realized I needed something to keep my sanity because I like to be active. But it's also my friends talking for the last 9 months about the Peloton and this is what they got for output and that and this and that. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to get a Peloton and I'm going to crush all of you. And that was my motivation. And now there is a new horse in the race and he is taking the lead. And now I've got to activate again.
Very upsetting. Better get at it. I did a poor ass Peloton because I've got a exercise bike at my house. But what I do is on my TV that's in front of the exercise bike, I just put a YouTube thing from the Tour de France and I pretend like I'm involved.
Wow.
Hey, did you guys hear my whole rant there? Because my phone looked like it cut out.
Oh, yeah, no, we heard.
Yeah, we got it all. Don't worry, Jay.
Oh, awesome. It was so quality. I want to make
revenge is your main reason for exercise.
But revenge is the best
motivation.
reason for most things, I think.
Well, yeah, it's you chirp, you do fantasy football with your buddies so you can chirp them or get chirped. Yeah. It's kind of the entertainment of life, making fun of your friends.
Like if I hit KC tonight in the foosball, I plan on being relentless. All you other guys that actually watch football failed so miserably.
Yeah, because if you're right, Baggedmilk, you'll be 5-1 in your picks. That's ridiculous.
Do you bet all your picks, Baggedmilk?
I haven't done all of them. I bet the last two. So I've got tonight just on the money line, and then I did last week as well.
Oh, I'll tell you an interesting gambling story from this weekend. So did anyone watch that big boxing match?
I know what you're talking about, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah, it was this big boxing match, and this guy, I kept calling him Lemonchenko just because I could, in our group chat, I could use a lemon emoji. I think it's like Lumenchenko or something like that. But anyways, he was the heavy favorite against this Lopez guy. And
Mario Lopez?
Yes.
Mario Lopez.
Holy
shit.
He's in over his head, boy.
In over his head. And my buddy and I were like, well, like, okay, if he's 4-1 and he's 1.25-1, like, how can we like game it so we can like hedge our bet and just kind of like watch the boxing fight and not really lose much and maybe have some upside. Well, what I did is I accidentally put $100 on the underdog at 4-1.
Classic accident, I guess.
But we were going to put some money, but I put the money I wanted to put on the favorite on the underdog. And then we're like, holy shit. But then what happened was the underdog came out hot and the favorite's odds started shooting up. So we were able to create a hedge where by waiting long enough, we ended up getting the favorite at 3-1. So we put some money on that, and then we insured when we did that. We insured no matter the outcome, as long as it wasn't a draw, we won $100.
So you feel like
it really took the fun out of watching like who wins the fight.
Yeah.
But it was also interesting about how if you get into the live betting, how you can do things to kind of hedge the outcome.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, the live betting thing's interesting. So is like if you have a book that offers cash outs, which most of them do, and like your bet is up by a lot at some point, you can usually just cash it out. So I did that yesterday with the baseball game. Like I bet on the Dodgers. Once they took the lead, I could cash out for a profit. So I cashed out and then put it on the in-game under. Great strategy. Won so much more money. I also got smoked yesterday in the NFL, so I don't really want to talk about it that much.
Oh, the NFL was a tough day. It was the upside down.
Yeah, Chris Abbott, the guy I follow from CoolBet, he said that usually the book's profit margin is 5 to 10%. He said yesterday it was 30%. Like the sports book, because so many underdogs won, sports book just took everything home.
How did Scott Hastings do?
Scott Hastings, so he nailed the Chicago money line. He missed on the New York Miami. He had the over, and it went under. He had Denver, New England under 45 points, so that one hit as well. So Hastings went 2 for 3 as my voice cracks. So yeah,
he seems to know what he does. He's doing this, young chap from Odd Shark.
Yeah, it's almost like he gets paid to be a gambling expert. It's a fascinating thing. Do you guys want to talk a little bit of Big Brother? Because I kind of do. Yeah?
Sure.
I want to hear the cue.
All right. Previously on Big Brother, we saw Memphis go home. He was actually a very good loser. Like, you know, some of the people who've been eliminated this year, like Danielle, like when they lost, they went and sat in Julie and were like clearly pissy. He was kind of like more like Ian. He got booted and he was like, hey, whatever, they beat me. Like, good move.
He took it as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, they took me out because I was so strong, which kind of goes back to like why, you know, he wasn't a great player to begin with in the sense of too much bravado and control and I'm doing this and that. But like, no, he was a gracious loser, but it's probably more because he took it as like a badge of honor for his ego.
Can I just say how bad this season sucks?
It's so predictable. Nothing is being shaken up. And that's the thing. Like it's you just know what's happening, and it's like the Christmas Tyler try to revolt to get Nicole. Like that was the first kind of inkling of like any kind of flipping the script or some entertainment or big moves. Everyone talks about big moves. They don't do it. Like Cody and Enzo could have split the vote. Like that was a genius idea.
Yes.
It doesn't even shake things. And then they still don't do it because they don't want to rock the boat with anyone. I'm like, what? It's too soft.
As this season's gone on, I've gotten so bored of it. And at this point, I'm just watching it to finish it out and see who wins. But it's exactly like you said, Jay, this season is so boring because when Christmas and Tyler tried to make that swing at Nicole, they were vilified for trying to shake things up in the house or whatever. And then all of the last episode, it was edited together to make us think that Cody and Enzo were going to flip that or split that vote so that Nicole had to get blood on her hands. Again, it doesn't happen. It's just so boring. I don't think that they could do another season like this where they all know each other coming in because nobody wants to get any blood on their hands. Nobody wants to do anything big. Nobody wants to do anything fun. And all that we're left with is getting creative editing to make us think that there's drama coming and nothing ever happens. It's fucking boring.
They always talk, it's All-Stars. Yeah, it's All-Stars. You got to play hard. And like, they're not. And an Enzo, anytime he gets power, like, yeah, but just shake it up. Like he always talks like, he's such a big deal. And I love the Meow Meow. He's an interesting character, but like his bark versus his bite is hilariously kind of two different ends.
All of them though, like they're all like that this season.
The only one trying, and this is why I'm going to cheer for her, is Christmas. It's because for her to win right now, like shit needs to happen. So I'm cheering for that outcome because I want to be entertained. It's probably not going to happen, but that's what I'm pulling for.
I hate to say it, but because like he barely won anything, you actually got to see how much heavy lifting in terms of entertainment that David actually did. He was so bad that at least it was fun to laugh at him and being like, what's David going to do next? And now it's just like, it's boring. This is Cody's game to lose.
Yeah.
If he loses, then he screwed up. If Nicole, if she was smart, she would have followed what Christmas said and got Cody on the block and get him out.
Exactly.
But nobody's doing that shit, and it's boring. And they're going to have to retool how the game goes, whether... Like, I loved the safety suite early in the season, but then they got rid of it. So I think they're going to have to retool for next season. Yeah. Those were just dreadfully boring.
The other thing, though, like, you touched on it a little, Jay, so I shouldn't say the other thing. All-Stars sound so good in theory, because like they all say, it's like, oh, you got to play hard. It's the best of the best. But it's almost like too perfect of a game where everyone knows the game, everyone's good at it. And you're right, Baggedmilk. David being bad is what made parts of the season interesting because no one trusted him when people were scheming back and doing all that stuff behind the scenes. It got pinned on him when it wasn't him, and when it was him, it was just a mess. But that's almost what makes the show so good in a normal season is that you have people on there who are going to make like huge fuck-ups and huge mistakes and let things slip. Like I think of that time in Big Brother Canada when they're like scheming in the HOH room and they're like, oh, we need to get so-and-so out. And that person like walks out of the bathroom and was listening to the whole thing. Like shit that happens like that doesn't happen in All-Star season and it makes it less entertaining.
Yeah, they're pro.
They're too good at it.
Yeah, it is in a sense like a hockey game as well, right? Like why do people love the World Juniors so much? It's because it's these, 18, 19-year-old kids who are making mistakes, no lead is safe and all that. A game between two perfect hockey teams might be, as much as you'll love the great hockey, it might be less entertaining because you want to watch a game that's going to be 6-5, 6-4, 7-5, whatever. You don't want to watch a tight-checking 2-1 game. And I feel like Big Brother All-Stars is a tight-checking 2-1 game.
The most interesting thing that's happened on Big Brother lately is seeing that Dr. Will looks like some kind of weird balloon now.
Yeah, he looked weird. Also, why did they bring back Kaser for this one competition to like stand there and talk? That was also like kind of awkward.
Because they brought back. I've never seen that challenge before. So they obviously he won it, and it plays a part of Big Brother history. So I'm happy to see my boy back. I'm sad that he wasn't.
I never liked him as much as you did.
He was kind of losing me at the end because. I think I just believed in what he was saying and his actions didn't really quite meet it, but like very cerebral guy. But like if him and Janelle would have stayed in longer, that would have made for some entertaining Big Brother.
Like if you could have gotten more out of the Janelle-Nicole beef, it probably would have been a bit of a better season.
If Janelle would have stayed in longer than she did, it would have been better. Like, but just, they need to figure out, and I have no idea how to do this, so this is offering a problem with no solution, but like they got to figure out a way to kind of make sure that big alliances don't form right at the beginning and then they just clear the table.
Yeah. And they should have created, the minute Janelle got out of the game, they should have created some playback that she wins to get back in.
Yes. This season desperately needed a playback from somebody like that.
Yeah. And like 2 weeks of safety so she can go in and like shake shit up.
Yeah.
So
I find it interesting.
I'm riding it out.
Yeah. So going into the finale now. So I keep in mind I haven't looked ahead. I don't look online and like look for spoilers. So I don't even know who won HOH. But it's gonna be you got Cody, Christmas, Nicole, and Enzo. It feels like Cody's game to lose, like you said. So I'm almost rooting for him to win because I think he's the most deserving. But I think the way to create the best possible finale would be for him to get out this week, right?
Yeah, of course.
Can Nicole compete in it?
Yes. Wait, no, she can't.
So it's just a 3-person
I think so, right?
Game? It must be.
Yeah.
It would be awesome if Christmas wins and she puts Enzo and Cody on the block.
Oh.
And then make Nicole choose between Enzo and Cody?
Yes.
they're
little
all
drama, please
Yeah.
give me some kind of drama.
Yeah, like I'm torn on that because I want to see Cody win because he played the best game and he probably deserves it. But I also not sure if I want to commit like 6 hours for the next 2 weeks into watching him win a couple comps and then win the finale by a vote of 7-0.
Yeah, it was just too easy for him. There was no like. I wish Cody was on the block like 3 times. Like I like people who like get on the block, fight to stay, and like and continue on the journey. Like Cody's had it so easy because everyone just fell under his spell. And it's like I think Cody's great, but like in the game, it's like, come on, get your fucking head out of your ass and realize he is the biggest threat. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Go Christmas.
Oh yeah, just go. End of
Go
the
drama.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, end the season, get to Big Brother Canada again. Episode 223 of the Real Life Podcast. Something interesting that came up on The Nation over the last sort of week here was that Gregor piece, talking about next season and all that. Baggedmilk, can you recap it quickly? Like, what was the gist of what Gregor was saying?
So basically, he looked at the economics of the National Hockey League and how if they don't have fans in the building, is it really does it make financial sense to continue? They don't have a TV deal like Major League Baseball or the NFL that kind of allows them some parity while operating with no fans. The NHL is in a different kind of boat. So his article was about what happens if there is no season in 2021. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But Gregor kind of went out and says, well, what happens? I mean, do you really expect owners just to walk out and be like, sure, let's lose millions of dollars just because we should? Not necessarily. So
It's a tough one. It's a very, very tough one.
Well,
I'm wondering, and
think?
I doubt they have the money, but like the big thing that was always looming was the new NBC deal.
Yeah.
Like I'm wondering if like the NHL, just like they leveraged this to get a new CBA done, like goes to NBC and being like, well, you were going to be paying this, but if you lock in now, it's this, and like renegotiate their deal to try to get that TV revenue up. That's the big thing that's missing is the US TV revenue is not that deal is not in place. I'm wondering if there's some kind of element there where they can go to the table. I don't know if NBC has the money to do it right now. I doubt it, but like I'm trying to think of different ways of like, hey, invest now and you'll get your kicker in 2 years where this will be like a crazy good deal for you. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. It's an unfortunate reality, but at the same time, like hockey has to come back.
Yeah, and you mentioned the NBC deal. The Sportsnet deal's up right away as well. Like that doesn't have very many more years left on it either. So I wonder if there's something to be rejigged there with Sportsnet where, yeah, maybe you go to them and say, hey, if you can find a way to give us some more money up front, we're going to extend your deal for a year or two. But then all you're really doing is pushing your financial problems down the road. But I mean, if you're pushing it down the road, hopefully you're pushing it to a point where you're allowed fans in the stands. The other thing, like if they come back and every team is playing in their own rink, it's going to create quite the discrepancy in what teams are making, similar to the NFL, where you have some places that are operating at like 15%. Some places are operating at 0%. So like the revenue sharing and all that, you're going to have teams, like if Tampa Bay can put 8,000 people in their building and Edmonton can only have 100, like is Tampa Bay going to be pissed about sharing that money? Can they be?
Well, I think this is a situation, one of those situations. Well, it is one of those situations where it's a we're in this all together scenario.
Has to be.
And it's just about getting through this. So it's got to be harmonized. The whole league's been doing it for Phoenix for years now. So now the whole league's hurting. So I think if the markets that can should be sharing with the markets that can't, to make sure that there is a market for tomorrow.
Kind of like when the entire league kept the Arizona Coyotes afloat for like a decade.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It sucks, man. Like it's like Jay said, the hockey has to come back. No matter what people said in the break during, I don't think the playoffs should happen. It'd be weird. I mean, we all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We were all still happy to have hockey back. And I think having that little piece of normalcy in your day in an otherwise uncertain time was really, really valuable emotionally and mentally. That said, we're talking about $1 billion business here and owners that did not get to where they are in life by throwing money away. So where's the balance? And I think that's going to be interesting to see as we go forward, because the NHL is going to have to come up with some ideas on what they can do to try and thicken that revenue stream and scrape back what they would have otherwise made with tickets, especially early on if they can't have anybody in the building.
Well, I think league continuity is a really important thing, right? And you need to make sure that, like, okay, you cannot award Stanley Cup. Didn't that happen during the last flu pandemic of 19, whatever the fuck? Sometimes sitting out is the play, but then you got to wonder, like, what's going to happen to teams if they have no season, right? There's going to be other people who are going to lose. It's a, like Jay said, like, it's a we're all in this together type thing.
Yeah.
And, like, what's the answer? There is no answer. There's no good answer.
Well, couldn't they just, like, take 3 or 4 hubs, play only for a TV deal, and do an abridged season where you travel between hubs?
But
that's probably what they're going to have to do, won't they?
Yeah. Obviously, if you need to try to, like, it's what the players are willing to do, and we have to respect the fact that they're humans, and like, you can't just take them from their families and stuff. No. So the ability to have that connectivity, but obviously the less arenas you play in, especially if there's no fans, the lower the expense. So maybe there is that type of, like, maybe there's, like, 6 hub rinks, or maybe and it rotates or something. I don't fucking know. And, like, the teams show up there, for a week, and that's a hub, and then the hub moves. I don't know. Maybe that's something they need to look at so the players can come back home. That was some kind of flexibility.
That was the initial. Frank Saravalli on TSN wrote about it a couple of weeks ago. That was kind of like the initial idea, is that they would have people fly in and out of hub cities, kind of like a Fort Mac situation, where you're in for 2 weeks, you're out for 2 weeks. Because, like you said, you can't just tell the players, all right, well, sorry, you're back in the bubble. It's just not going to work. They have to be able to see their families.
But then also from the perspective of the league, you would probably have to find a way to, like, stagger the schedules too, right? Where, like, you can't just have the entire league come back for, like, 16 days and play 9-10 games in 16 days and then go home and be like, oh, the entire league is off for 10 days. Like, you would need to find a way to almost stagger it, right? Like, I don't think you could sit there and actually have your whole league take a pause.
No, but you would stagger the hub cities, so there's hockey every week.
Yeah.
But, like, every 2 weeks, there's 7 days where, like, your division that your team plays in is off.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what they would have to do, is something like you have 2 of the 4 divisions playing at a time.
Yeah.
And then they switch, and then they, maybe it's a week on, week off, and then somewhere in the middle it's 2 weeks in so that the divisions cross over or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Fuck, it's going to be fascinating, man. What the NHL did really well in planning this last hub thing is they didn't rush, right? Like, they waited as long as they could to make the right decision, because there was a point there where it was like, oh, it's going to be Vegas and Vancouver, and it seemed settled. And then all of a sudden, like, Vegas's cases spiked, and it became clear over the next, like, 3 days after it seemed like it was getting close, and Elliot Friedman was reporting it too. It seemed like it was getting close on Vegas, Vancouver, and then over that 3-4 day span, it was like, oh, fuck, Vegas's cases are going through the roof. It has to be in Canada. And then they pivoted to Edmonton and Toronto so that they could, work out the time zones a little bit better and all of that as well. So they have a ton of time to get this right. So you almost want to give the NHL the benefit of the doubt, because it's like they found a way, and credit to both the players, the owners, and the league, or all 3 of them, right? Because none of them really got greedy this last time around. It seemed like they all kind of put their differences aside and said, if this is going to work, everyone's sacrificing something here.
Yep. Well, and they're going to have to do it again. They're going to have to do it again, work together, come together, and figure this out, because the owners don't want to put up all the risks, which I get, but the players also don't want to go a full year without missing all those paychecks too. So like, there's got to be a balance there somewhere. They got to.
Yeah, well, and the escrow's up to 20%, so the players are making the sacrifice to get hockey off the ground. So yeah, it's weird, but I would actually challenge your comment there. Your M-Chuck saying there's lots of time. The time is that I think actually we're running out of time, in the sense of, or it's not as much time as you think, because there is pressure because of NBC to have the season wrapped up before the Olympics.
Yep.
Yeah. I just meant, like, they have 2 months here to kind of figure it out, and they proved that they can work on an accelerated timeline like they did setting up Edmonton, Toronto. Because you're right. The NBC is not going to be thrilled if you're handing out the Stanley Cup in the same week that they're doing Olympic games.
Well, and all the resources are diverted there, right? Like, it's actually going to be tough for them, because they're going to have no airtime, because when it's Olympic time, it's like all the time on NBC.
And that
if there's an Olympics.
Well, that too. There might not, like, what are the odds that there's actually an Olympics next summer?
Because that's like does that mean so much money to NBC airing the Olympics? Even if it's supposed to be in Tokyo this year, so even if there's nobody there.
Well, there's so many things at play. There's already sponsor commitments. There's already dollars and contract. Like the NBC almost has to deliver the product, right? Similar like how NHL had to finish the season to appease its end to its rights holders and all that stuff. I think a similar thing would be done for NBC. But the big thing, that can happen between now and then for the Olympics, they've got more time, is like, you're hearing rumblings of like how there's quick rapid testing coming and like all this stuff opens the doors to a lot of things. So if rapid testing can come to market and scale out, like that's the green light to allow people back into the building. It's things like that. So like there is some stories developing on the outside that can help on the economic side of a lot of these things. But until they're a reality, we're just kind of guessing. But if you kind of do some digging, you can see it's getting closer and closer, and then that'll hopefully open the doors to generating some more revenues for these teams, and might also mitigate having to do the hub thing altogether. And maybe it's starting as this hub, and then it evolves to like, oh no, we just travel and we have a Canadian division and 3 U.S. divisions, and that's the way that we're going to finish off the season. And you can be if ever we have rapid testing and we can be at 30, 40, 50% occupancy in the building.
Well, we're on October 19th today. What's your best guess on what happens? I'm going to guess there will be a season, but it's going to be something like 48 games.
I think they'll push.
And how do they have fans? How do they do it?
I would guess it starts doing the hub thing, and then as we progress a little bit, then it opens up where there's fans in the building.
Yeah. I think that'll happen, but I think that they'll have to do what baseball did as well, where by the time the playoffs roll around, they might need everyone to go back into a hub for playoffs. Just to you look at the NFL, right? Like the NFL might have to do that too, where when you lose the Tennessee Titans for 10 days in the regular season, hey, you rejig some things, you make it work. And baseball realized that when the Marlins went down, they were like, okay, we can make it work for the regular season, but we are fucked if a team goes down in the middle of the ALDS, right? And in the NHL, you'd be screwed if we talked about this leading up to the last bubble. What happens if there's an outbreak in the middle of round 2? Well, the bubble works. You won't get positive cases in the bubble. I think you'd have to go back to that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it follows the same path Baggedmilk said, where it's like season starts, we're doing like a modified hub thing, and then like halfway through the year, it opens up and changes a little bit. And then for the playoffs, you got to go right back into some form of bubbles. It'll be interesting.
They prove they can do the playoffs in a bubble, so there's no reason they couldn't do it again. It's just what's the path to getting there that's going to make financial sense for the owners, the league, and the players, and everybody involved. Like Jay said earlier, it's going to take all the teamwork that they can possibly table at this point because both sides don't want to miss a season.
And what's interesting is, like, just from a personal perspective, how your like timelines in your head kind of work. Like, you remember back to watching that Oilers and Jets game on the night the NBA shut down with their positive tests? And I remember catching the third period of that game and in my head being like, ooh, I was at BP's with some buddies watching the game. And I was like, oh, guys, this might be the last time we watch Oilers hockey for a few weeks here, hey? Thinking that, like, it would get shut down and then just start back up right away. And, like, how dumb and naive of me looking back on it. But at the time, it was like, oh, how long is this shutdown going to start? And then it went to, like, oh, boy, this might not happen. Playoffs might be done. And then it came back. But even now, sitting there being like, well, January is so far away. Like, things might change by then. But then having to be like, are things really going to change by then? You mentioned the rapid testing, I guess, which would change things. But, like, fuck, in your head, you keep thinking that, like, in 3 months, it'll be better. But, like, man, a lot of time has gone by now.
There is time, but there's not lots. So I would feel more comfortable, even just looking back on when the playoffs came back, I would be more comfortable once the NHL starts releasing more details. I know we all know they're working on it, but like, what does this look like? I don't know.
I was talking today with Low Tide about, because now we're getting back to the point where there's not a lot of sports on. Like, baseball is going to be done in less than 10 days, I believe, because they aren't doing days off in their playoffs. Baseball is going to be done quick. Then it's just NFL pretty much until NBA, NHL resumes. What kind of stuff should they be putting on TVs? Like, if you had a chance to watch like the Swedish Elite League game of the week or the KHL game of the week on Sportsnet, would you sit down and watch it? Or are you just like, man, if it's not the NHL, I'm not dedicating 3 hours of my time to some team I don't care about?
I would watch Karpat games. I'd watch, I can't pronounce the name, the team that Evan Bouchard's on.
Skelfedia?
No, he's not in Skellefteå. He's in like Soderdyr. He's in the Allsvenskan.
Oh, the Allsvenskan.
Skellefteå, Broberg. Oh yeah, Broberg, Skellefteå.
There we go. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, like I would, but like sports. Well, maybe Sportsnet Oilers would air that because Oilers fans watch that. But like that's probably what they should air because watching historical games to me is like I get no joy out of that.
Yeah, you got to go like a current game,
Yeah, something I can buy into. Like, hey, I'm cheering for Pool Party to score. Like, let's go. Like, I'm excited. Like, I'm watching from like I can get behind that. That would be entertaining. So, like, if from a regional point, especially in Canada, I bet you there's a lot of that because I don't know. Like, I think a lot of teams have been loaning players for some reason. I think like the Oilers have been the only ones, but I'm very biased to that. I'm sure a bunch of other teams have lent players back to Europe, but I bet you Leafs Nation would be watching Joe Thornton Switzerland games like crazy right now. So that's what I would be airing.
Yeah, I was just thinking they go all 3 seasons of Banachek,
Well,
you sold it earlier. And
that's what you watch outside of the hockey.
Well, I would definitely watch Oilers prospects, see how they're doing. Why not? I'm curious how, if I got a chance to turn on the TV in the morning and watch Philip Broberg do his thing, by all accounts, he's having a decent season. Same with Evan Bouchard. Like, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Gregor called.
It's live sports. We could bet on it if we wanted.
Yeah, that's fair. Gregor called Broberg the player to watch or something close to that today when he was talking about the Oilers blue line. He thinks like Broberg's gonna pretend or not thinks he thinks there's a chance Broberg cracks that roster next year. How crazy would that be, huh?
I'm going to DM my good friend Uffe Bodine. See what he has to say.
Mike Zanier, who me and him actually just followed each other on Twitter while we were doing this podcast. He's a former Oiler.
Mazel tov, you two. I had no idea you were going steady.
He had a line the other day that he tweeted and just said, Edmonton has an absolute player in this kid. He's really, really high on Philip Broberg. He said just finished the Vaxjow, definitely butchered that. Skellefteå, probably butchered that game. He said the Oilers have a, quote, wild stallion in Philip Broberg.
Ooh, very erotic.
Oh, my word. I just felt my bathing suit region move since the play-in.
Are you in the hot tub while we're doing this podcast?
No, can you hear that noise? I'm not in the hot tub. No.
Oh, no, I can't hear
driving. I'm driving. I turned down I think it was the vent.
Oh, no, you said bathing suit, so I was like, oh, are you actually in the hot tub right now? That'd be a great move.
Oh, I see. No, I thought you could hear the vent of the Wanye mobile.
No. All right, man, yeah, that Broberg thing. I think it's from where he was, not a lot of people, including myself, wanted Ken Holland to pick him, and then just watching how quickly he's sort of developed over the last sort of year. One, shows how little I and a lot of other Oilers fans know about European prospects coming through the draft, and two, things can change in a hurry here because he was not an afterthought. People, obviously a top 10 pick, people had their eyes on him, but when he came in for that for the preseason game there and the training camp before the return to play, that was just whew.
Were you at our draft party last year?
No, I was not.
The thing that I'm not going to say about first round picks anymore is we had a draft party as we usually do. It was the Broberg draft, and people at the bar booed that pick. And then you fast forward a year, a calendar year, and everybody's super enamored with him. That's why, for a guy like Dylan Holloway that just got picked, earlier this month.
Yeah.
Hey, man, take your time. Let's see you in a year, 2 years. Let's see what happens. But with Broberg, I think about that one quite often because I'll never forget some Nation people booing him when that pick went down.
Can you imagine?
Well, we wanted the shooter. The shooter. But he almost made the squad for the play-in round.
Yeah, and no one saw that coming. The way he elevated his stock to fans, maybe not necessarily the organization, but the way he elevated his stock to just the casual Oilers fan is incredible over that stretch. And hopefully he can keep doing it because, if Gregor's right on that, if there's a chance he surprises, that could be huge for the Oilers next season.
Between Broberg stepping up and Ethan Bear completely remaking himself that one off season, this is the kind of shit we need to see to get back to the winning circle.
Even Caleb Jones. Caleb Jones had a great year last year.
Yeah,
he did. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. And, I know Evan Bouchard's having a decent season right now over in Europe. He's putting up some points too. So
what I don't like is he's playing in the Division 2 in the SHL. I was hoping he'd be Division 1. So he better be letting it up. Give
him some confidence, though, right? The JP effect. Yeah. Go there, light it up, come back. After playing against men as well, right? I mean, granted, Bouchard did that in the American League last year as well, so he's no stranger to playing against men, and he's also 48 years old himself, but hopefully he gets a little bit more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think it's almost time to wrap it up here. I think I want to track someone down to come on the pod and talk a little more Broberg. Now that me and Zane here follow each other, that might be easier to do. But guys, as always, thanks for the hour. Wanye, get to wherever you're going safely.
Thank you. You're a nice fellow.
Yeah, you guys are nice. You guys all forgot my birthday last week on the pod. We recorded the podcast on my birthday.
You didn't say anything.
No.
You kept it super tight.
I respect that.
Kept it tight, yeah. Under wraps.
Did you guys wish Dan a happy birthday?
Yeah, well.
Yep.
Zach Cassian wished him a happy birthday.
Yeah, that was amazing. Cool. I love it.
Yeah, there was a shout out for Oilers Nation and Hockey Fights in that one.
Damn.
Amazing.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 223 of the Real Life Podcast, brought to you by Oodle Noodle. 10% of all in-store proceeds go towards a local charity. And our friends at Twig and Berries. It's a modern caveman Monday here on the Real Life Podcast and on their Instagram. Check them out. We got them tagged and all sorts of stuff. They are very easy to track down. Use the promo code NATION15 at twigandberries.ca. Gets you 15% off your order. Saves you money, gets you more comfortable. That's the guarantee.
If you get some fresh Twig and Berries undies, I am asking you, the listeners, to email some tasteful pictures to Tyler at OilersNation.com.
People actually, yeah. Oh, whatever. I don't care. You can do it. Sure, if it helps the brand. All right. Talk to you guys again on Thursday. This episode's over.
Great job on making it through the entire hour of the Real Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from.